Are you afraid of the dark? That was absolutely terrifying, especially when it was on a kids' network. Welcome to the SMS. Welcome. Hello. My name is Sam. Sean, who's this guy down here? Who's this guy?
I thought you were doing the theme tune.
I've done it.
When?
Before I start this, I've already done it.
So what he does is, hi everyone. What Sam does is he plays the theme tune and then he pauses the recording and then he carries on. Then
I've never noticed you do that.
I know
it just seems so flawless.
It's great.
It's so high tech. All you do is play it on your phone and put it up to a microphone.
Wow.
Sam is an incredible editor.
Well, there's clearly a lot of money spent on this show.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
But, so we got another episode. My fault. It was my single one. But Sean came on in the end. For, what was that fucking terrible film I reviewed, Sean? We reviewed?
It wasn't Zombie, was it?
No, 40 Days and 40 Nights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Zombie, by the way, was just the worst piece of crap I've ever seen in my life.
I disagree.
The worst film I've ever watched.
I can beat that for the film I watched last night.
What did you watch last night?
I watched I Spit on Your Grave 3.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, the first one you've probably got to watch. It's 2 and 3 you don't really have to watch. It's basically a woman who gets abused and then she gets revenge violently. But I was going to talk about one of these deaths to Sean and yourself. But she goes, her friend basically gets murdered by her boyfriend. So she goes, dresses her up nicely and tries to kill him.
It's like a horror version of Little Mo from EastEnders.
Yeah, it's revenge, basically revenge.
I like more!
Slasher porn, basically. And
I love you more!
I love you more!
Don't hit me with the iron more!
Guys, what I want to know is, right, in EastEnders, there was Little Mo and Big Mo. But who was Medium Mo? Was there a Medium Mo?
There was Len, who was with Pepe.
I reckon there was a Medium Mo pulling the strings all the time.
She lives under the Queen Vic.
No, I think she lived under Charlie Slater. Under Charlie, I think it was literally in between his asshole and his ball sack. There it is.
Yeah, do you know what it's called when he wipes his ass? It's called wiping the slate clean.
It's a very welcome return for you, Michael Taylor.
Yes, I'm back on the SMS podcast, by the way, everyone.
Right, but let me just talk about this death, right? Because I just sat there going, what the fuck was that? Basically, she has to trick him into trying to do stuff to her. So he gets his cock out and she puts it in her mouth and he goes, oh, not just the tip. So she gets a knife, stabs him in the cock, cuts the tip off, puts her fingers in the hole and goes, right? So it looks like a fucking flower. And then she just stabs the fuck out of the hole, and I just sat there.
If you're just joining us, we're reviewing the newest Pixar movie. If you're just joining us,
The Incredibles 3.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 out of 10.
Quite a death.
And
Wow.
yeah, it was. I think there's sometimes in horror films it goes too far. I don't like when the antagonist, if it's a snowman, a beaver, or a clown, has sex with one of the people.
Mm.
I don't need to see that.
Clown sex.
You know Nadia from American Pie?
Mm.
She was in Jack Frost, The Killer Snowman, and she got by a snowman. It's funny.
Is that Tara Reid by any chance?
No, Tara Reid was the blonde woman. No, you know the Czechoslovakian woman that Jim fancies?
Oh, yeah. Because, I saw in the news Tara Reid had spent lockdown with Jedward. She was staying with Jedward. And I thought to myself, if that was me, I'd have shot myself in the fucking head. Imagine being in lockdown with Jedward.
That's an awful, awful idea, isn't it? That is
Awful
torture.
idea. Right, guys, what's changed on the SMS podcast I've left? What's new?
We just talk about random stuff as usual. We play Never Have I Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Now. I think we should do that now.
All right, then. That's fine.
You want to start with Never Have I Ever?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We basically...
Right,
hang on, let me just...
yeah.
Basically...
Where do these questions come from?
The internet. Like everything.
Internet. Always a great source.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's a good sauce? Ketchup.
No, well, wiggly sauce. Classic.
I was going to actually ask you this, right? So, do you think this is weird? Okay. I've started to use pepper, sprinkle a little bit of pepper on nearly everything I eat. And so I've started, because I heard about this on a different podcast, that a guy...
Oh, what's it? A different podcast?
Yeah, there are other podcasts.
What other podcasts are you listening to? Sam, he's cheating on the SMS podcast.
I got his replacement.
Go on, Sean.
Yeah, so when this guy has toast, right, he sprays it with some butter, and then he...
Whoa. Sprays.
Oh,
Sprays it with butter.
Spreads. Yeah.
What does he go?
He gets a Lynx butter. Have you heard of Lynx butter? Sprays it on.
Butter.
That's what, I think that's what most Americans smell like. They smell like butter, don't they?
Gone off
Yeah,
butter.
fried butter.
Yeah.
Carry on.
But yeah, he sprinkles a bit of pepper on his toast, on his buttered toast. And so I was like, I'm going to try that. Because buttered toast is quite bland. It's very dull, isn't it? So I sprinkled a bit of pepper on. I've never gone back since. I've enjoyed it.
Sean, you need to get out of lockdown, mate.
What? Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, it's true. But yeah,
I'm gonna get a water bottle tomorrow, melt some butter, and spray my toast. It pops out of the toaster, and you just go.
hold the toast like that.
Oh no, literally like that.
The toast.
But if you're you're running late for work, you haven't got time for breakfast, you can in the car on the way down, you can put your steering wheel, put your toast there, and go. Give it a wipe.
I used to take my cereal to college with me. Did you guys ever do that?
No.
You took cereal.
I just used to walk to college with a bowl, and there was a wall on the way to college. Seriously, there was a wall on the way to college, and I'd leave it on top when I'd finished, and then walking back, it was still there, so I picked it up and took it home.
What, the bowl is still there?
Yeah, the bowl's still there at the end of the day. I'd walk home and it was still there, so I took it home. It's really, really nice. So if you're ever late for work, just take the bowl with you and leave it somewhere safe.
That is true, because who would steal a bowl, to be honest? Yeah, that's very true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bowl collector.
Ah, those damn bowl collectors.
The sequel to Bone Collector.
Right,
The bowl
let's
collector.
play. Never Have I Ever.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Get your hands up.
Right. Let's start with a PG one first. Never have I ever had a crush on a teacher. Miss Ashman doesn't count, Mike.
All right.
Right, next. That's a stupid one.
Look at my thumb, guys. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Sean, show everyone your weird finger.
Oh, I can, because it's a visual podcast, isn't it?
It's a horror-themed episode as well, so...
Are you ready? So, this is my hand. It's a normal hand. Hands normally do this. Oh! Oh! Look at that!
Oh, mate, you should be in a zoo.
I should be... that's bad, isn't it? That's like something I mean.
It's just not supposed to happen at all.
No. Right. Anyway.
Right. Never have I ever lied about the number of people I have slept with. Well, we've lost Mike.
Where's Mike?
Where's Mike? He's gone.
Mike!
Right, we're just having some technical issues.
Oh
Mike,
no.
Mike,
Pause-
come back.
Pause recording, Sam.
Oh, Mike, come back.
Yeah.
Okay, that was. Never have I ever lied about the number of people I've slept with.
Oh, right.
Never, Mike.
You both have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? I don't see what the point. Why? Why would you do that?
Because it makes you look like a sturd muffin.
Yeah, but guys, I am a stud, right? I won. I don't know if you remember this, but I was in history club at school, and I won a fucking pencil tin. I don't need to lie about being a stud, so...
Wait, you beat Ellen for a pencil tin?
I beat everyone for a pencil tin, Sean. I was the history master. You know what you had to do? Right? You had to design a pencil tin. So I took an empty tin of beans, and I painted it like cream, and just stuck a picture of a castle on it. And I won.
Well done.
I won a pair of socks.
A pair of socks and not a biscuit tin, a pencil tin.
Oh well, no, I had to design the pencil tin.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah, I designed the pencil tin and won a pair of socks.
Oh, I thought you said that the competition was to make a pencil tin, and you won a pencil tin. Can you imagine that? Like, you make this pencil tin, and then they go, "Congratulations, you won!" and you just give you all your pencil tin back.
Keep the pencil tin, yeah.
Well, my
You win
daughter,
what you created.
like, you know, these first prizes in schools. So, like, my daughter just did one about a couple of months back. It was an art competition, so he literally bought a proper canvas, wonderful picture, and she had a £5 cinema voucher as first prize. So,
Oh, what a great prize! With all the cinemas closed.
yeah.
I know.
Oh, here's your £1 book token.
Yeah.
Right. Next
Sean
one.
once bought us a 6-pence book, didn't you, Sean?
I bought you a 6-pence book.
Yeah, it was that Percy Jackson book you got us.
Oh
And the
God,
Lightning Thief.
it was the gifts thing.
I still haven't read it.
No, it wasn't 6-pence. I think they were 10-pence each.
All right.
I still
Right,
got.
guys, I still got
you
4
gave me.
fingers. I'm winning.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So back to these gifts. Do you remember when it was like literally a mini rape kit? There was like tape and fucking...
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
He just gave us a carrier bag with some of the weirdest things in it.
Oh God. I can get the gifts that you got me, and they're in my wardrobe. Should I get them?
I actually got mine as well. Hang on, I'll get them out quickly. There with me.
You go first, Sam, and I'll just do the Scouts on the symbol.
Well, I was gonna go read a story from the back of a.
Go on, Mike. Tell us the tale.
Something. Well, there's no need now because you're here still.
All right. Well, you go on. You tell the
No,
guys.
I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go because if you stand up, you're gonna crash through to my box. Like, I'm above you, and if you stand up.
Okay, you.
Right, Sean. Do you have do you know? It's just not worth it.
Okay. All right.
It's just not worth it. You know,
Mike, why
got the Large Hadron Collider in Europe. You know, people have seen enough impressive things. We don't need to be passing things between boxes on Zoom.
No. They've been wowed enough recently. So why don't you tell the fellow listeners or viewers now what you've been up to since the last time you were on the podcast, man?
I've been in my house, not going to work.
Lovely. You've been enjoying it?
Fantastic. I've been doing so much stuff.
Lovely.
Right, I managed to find it. Percy Jackson,
Yes!
10p book,
pence, yeah, 10
confirmed.
pence.
Bargain. mate.
A doctor set.
You haven't used it yet.
Oh, I've used this.
Masking tape
Masking tape.
for all your masking needs.
Bike cover.
Do you have a bike, Sam?
No.
Okay.
Which
Put it on
sort
your
of
head.
links to my horror story tonight.
Oh, interesting. That is coming up later on, ladies and gentlemen. We will be
Copy of
telling each
Moulin
other some
Rouge.
horror stories.
on DVD.
You haven't watched that
That's
yet.
a great film. That's a great film.
I've never
What did I
seen
get
it.
you, Mike? I got you a DVD, didn't I?
Yeah, you got me 40 Days and 40 Nights,
Yeah.
which you guys then used for your film review.
Yeah.
Right, what's next?
What's that?
Right, it's my bike cover.
Okay.
Finally opening it.
Let me just get my gifts a second. Hold on.
Ooh.
Terrifying, Sam.
You could actually use it. You know when you go to the barbers?
Yeah.
And it can also be worn as a hat. Right. This is a controversial one. Sean,
Yeah.
never have I ever peed in a public pool.
In public?
You peed in a pool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In Splashland in Porthcawl, I peed down the water slide when I was younger.
Wait, the sea doesn't count, right?
Oh, we all peed in the
No.
I don't imagine I have.
No. Okay.
I don't think I have.
That's... No. Hang on.
What's the matter?
Right, this is a funny one. Never have I ever looked at myself while having sex.
Well, like cornered.
Yeah.
I have.
You just look at look at yourself in the mirror like this.
I have. I wore it. I was having intimacy. I was having coitus with a girl, and there was a mirror. There was a mirror just by the bed, and I just turned and I started laughing.
Does it count if you film yourself masturbating and then watch it back?
Of course.
Then yeah, I have.
I haven't used this yet, guys.
Oh, sure. Have you got any pictures to put up?
No.
This is gonna be. I think this is me out now. Never have I ever seen two girls, one cup.
Come on, who hasn't watched that? Who hasn't seen that?
I'm out.
Wasn't there a sequel or something?
Yeah, it was two cups and a girl.
Yeah, it's just.
What? The cups shit on each other.
No, it fills with shit, and that is the worst video I think I've ever seen. Right, how many of you got left, Sean?
What?
How many of you got left?
I'm out.
Oh, you're out.
I'm out.
Mike wins.
Well, am I?
I've got two left. Which ones didn't I do? Pee in a pool and lying about how many girls I've slept with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won.
I am now going to turn this into a scarf.
Well done, man. Well done.
Guys, look at that. I come back to the SMS podcast, and my first time back, I've won. Never have I ever.
You're just not as a shitty human being as me and Sean.
Yeah, it must be. Must be
That is it. Yeah, that is it.
Right, guys, we start horror stories.
Yes, we were challenged by Michael to write our own horror, because obviously I've been watching a lot of horror films recently, so we were tasked after Zombievers to come up with a horror film of ourselves, and we're going to read we haven't read, we know the titles of our films, but we don't know each other's stories, so this is completely a surprise to us too.
Can I just say, Sam, that makes a really nice scarf.
It actually does.
That looks
Yeah,
really,
it's like a serial killer scarf, isn't it?
Yeah,
that does suit you. It does.
right.
You look like one of those 1940s pilots.
What was that game they did on SMTV Live?
Oh,
With the planes and stuff. Oh,
I think, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I have to find out. Go on, you continue.
No, it wasn't that. It was the one with he was like a troll, wasn't he? It's like a troll or something. Anyway, yeah. You just need some flying goggles now, Sam.
I have not got flying goggles at the moment.
No, you wouldn't, would you? You must have some swimming goggles. Swimming goggles would suffice.
No, one of those, the snorkel.
Right. Yeah.
Michael, you wanted to go first, didn't you?
No, Sean, you said you were going to spread yours out, weren't you?
Yeah. So I've got 3 short stories to tell. And yeah, I will just get into my. So I have a pen name for myself. I've created a different alias when I'm writing. So my pen name is Brisket McCole. And
Brisket McConnell.
Brisket McCole. So if you give me just 1 minute, I'd like to just get into character of and the mindset of Brisket. So if you just give me a second. I'll be right back.
Sam, you must have some goggles of some kind somewhere. It's a perfect opportunity.
Right.
What is that on your wall?
It's a Keyblade.
A what?
From the game Kingdom Hearts. It's a Keyblade.
Oh, right.
I got 2.
Where did you get those from?
I got that one from Comic-Con about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got this one for my birthday off my sister.
Very cool.
I run round Pencoed protecting it, see?
What are they the key to?
Everything.
Key to everything.
Women's hearts.
Ah, sweet.
Hello.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You look like Hunter S. Thompson.
That I am not. My name is Brisket. Brisket McCall. Are you ready for some tales?
Tales of absolute terror.
Okay, here we go. Brisket McCall presents the tales of Wexley Pip. My first story is called The Erotic Tale of Brenda Von Tree. Here we go. It was a cold winter's night in Wexley Pip. The bitterness of the night air engulfed the streets. However, deep into Vimto Close, a naughty fruit tree decorated in what may as well be foil scented the front garden of the residence, occupied by one Miss Brenda Von Tree. Brenda Von Tree. What can be said about this disgraceful tit of a human? Well, she stinks of garlic arse, for one thing. A 6'2" brute of a woman inhabits the house. By day, she sells her body on the infamous OnlyFans website. By night, she does the same, but it's darker. The 45-year-old single female lived a dull yet intriguing life. As a young human, she was brought up in a fine household with horses for parents. Living off a diet of carrots and wine guns, she kept fit by riding her horse parents around the mighty fields of Wexley Pip. In her teenage years, she watched Gardener's World. This was in the days when Gardener's World was on BBC One, so it was prime-time viewing. One day, Brenda was watching an episode while drinking some fine ale from the local public house, when she immediately spat out the ale in sheer pleasure at the sight of a hedge trimmer. Her loins immediately got wet and tossed herself off to the village of gardening tools. Years went by recording episodes of Gardener's World. Years went by recording episodes of Gardener's World and anything Titchmarsh was involved in. She would lock herself away in her room/stable and toss herself off to these shows. She really went for it too. People living miles away could hear her groans of immense pleasure. Well, some say pleasure. Her groans sounded more like someone doing a bad impression of a sheep dying. Back to this winter's night. Brenda is at home. Her horse parents have since left her, as they couldn't stand her wanking off to gardening programs. So they hopped on the bus to Birmingham and fucked right off. She heard a knock at her front door of a mighty oak tree of a house. She took her hands out of her pants and walked to the door. "Who is it?" she says in a manly yet charming voice. A mildly annoying voice on the other side of the door says, It's me, Phil Domino. I'll send money to you in exchange for naked pictures of you amongst rakes. Ah, yes, she says. I believe you brought me something. Yeah, I have. Can I come in, please? I'm not wearing much and it's fucking freezing out here. To be fair, it was fucking freezing, as he was only wearing a vest, some Tomb Raider boxers and sandals. He was a fat fuck, too. Brenda opened the door. She was clothed, if you could believe it. If you think clothed is a pair of coconuts for a bra and granny pants as undergarments, she lets Mr. Dolmio into the oak tree. Phil was holding a Tesco carrier bag with a chicken in it. Is that chicken for me, you twat? Brenda asked in an aggressive manner. Yeah, it is, Brenda, but I must tell you, this chicken is half alive, he exclaims. The scary thing is, dear reader, Brenda Von Tree really enjoyed half-dead animals, especially chicken. They ended up sharing this disgusting piece of poultry with a side of microwavable potato skins. The end.
Right, I don't...
What did you think?
The greatest story ever written.
They get better. Oh no, he's gone again.
He's gone. Gone away again.
Oh, he's back.
He's
Coming
back. He's back. He's back. There he is.
Yeah, it might just be. I think that's just the strangest thing I've ever heard in my life. I think.
All right, I got two questions.
Go on.
How the fuck did you come up with that? And two, it was scary, but it wasn't a horror scary.
No. Okay. So I come up with Brenda Von Tree while I was out walking the dog. Was it yesterday or the day? Yeah, yesterday morning. I was just walking. I was like, right, think of some random people, and think of how disgusting these people could be. So, the people of Wexley Pip. There's two more great stories to come, by the way.
I'm just blown away right now. I'm trying to process that story still.
Right.
She works off the gardening programs then.
Wow.
Can I go next?
Yeah, you go ahead, Sam.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, right. Mine, right. Obviously, we wanted to do cheesy horror, but I ended up not doing cheesy horror. I ended up doing a semi-serious story. But I hope you enjoy. Reader beware, you're in for a scare. Psy-Killing.
Copyright.
Written by Samuel Baker, Esquire.
It's the greatest title ever.
It is.
It was a warm summer day in Ryanstown, near Austin, Texas. The hottest, driest day of the year so far, of 1990. The rattlesnakes and scorpions were out, and even they were struggling to fight. A boy and his father were travelling through the desert to the nearest pharmacy in the next town. You know what, boy? This here car is a pile of rusted shit. Surprised it's lived longer than me. We need to help get back and keep fixing those broken things. I'm glad I taught you everything I know about engineering. The boy's name was Theodore Marshall. His friends called him Timmy. Well, if he had friends. His father was called Mason Marshall. Timmy spent most of his time caring and looking after his father. His dad had changed since the loss of their mother 2 years ago. His dad had had a heart problem and depression. The doctor had forgotten to sort his prescription recently, so they had to go to the next town over. Oh shit, Tim! This fucking car ran out of gas! Said Mason as the car came to a sudden stop. There was a gas station about 5 minutes from where they were. Get out! Push the shit! Theodore got out. He hated when his dad was so demanding. His dad pulled out a beer. Jesus, Dad, you can't go on a car ride without having a drink? Asked Theodore. Wallop! Mason backhanded Theodore. His ear felt a sharp sting and his face was as red as the sun. Shut your fucking mouth, boy. You don't judge me, motherfucker. I served in the goddamn war and I seen shit you've never seen. Theodore froze. He was angry. but deep down that he knew his dad wasn't well. They managed to push the car to the gas station. Theodore saw something in the distance, 3 or 4 men on bicycles. Theodore saw as the cyclists were riding out in front of drivers and the drivers were shouting at them. "Watch out, you fucking goon." He then noticed a young mother carrying her baby across the road from the diner, across the road of the gas station. He heard what a cyclist... "Watch me ride into this bitch." 3 of the cyclists egged him on, while one said, "She's got a child. Man, you can't do that." Theodore ran out and jumped in front of the woman. Theodore, the woman, and the child landed on the sidewalk. "Thank you," whispered the mother, seeing to her baby. "Motherfucker, what was my new bicycle? That was my new bicycle," shouted the cyclist. "Do you know who the fuck I am, you inbred hillbilly piece of shit?" Theodore recognized the man from the billboards all over Ryanstown. Skip York, a local real estate agent. Skip punched Theodore. It was so hard it knocked 2 teeth out of his and broke his jaw. His jaw felt like fire. He encouraged his friends to start attacking Theodore, with the same cyclists from before trying to stop him. "Skip, what the fuck you doing?" he screamed. "Shut the hell up, Tony. You just involved as much as we are," demanded Skip. "Right, John, get this piece of shit up." Theodore lost track of how many shots he took, but he was hurt. Bang! A loud gunshot. It was Mason, his father, coming out the gas station. "What in God's name you doing? Get the hell away from my son," demanded Mason. Bang! Another shot. "That's the last warning shot you get, you gay little bikes. Now get on your gay little bikes and fuck off." Skip put his hands up. "I'm sorry, sir. We were out of order. Let us help your son. You probably know me from all the signs." "Fuck you know I know who you are. All of you, I've seen you around. How can you do this to a boy? His face, his poor face. I'm going to call the police. You're all monsters, and the whole Ryanstown is going to know what kind of real estate piece of crap." Thud. Skip hit Mason as hard as he could. He took the gun. Skip screamed at the young mother. "Get the fuck out of here before I hurt you." Bang! Skip had shot both the mother and the baby. The mother and the baby were on the ground. The mother's head had exploded, and the baby had a chunk of the shoulder missing. Before Mason could react, Roy and John started kicking him on the ground. Isn't it fun that we are all regular people? The cyclists are the most important people, and we have to get our hands a little dirty at times. If I want to be run for mayor, and I'll make sure you butt-fucking hillbillies are the first to go, explained Skip. Bang! A shot to Mason's left leg. Mason began to clutch his chest. "My pills, they're in my bag, my heart pills. Please, I need them." Tony got on the bicycle and ran over the pills on the ground. "Tony, at last you have some balls. Boys, get this guy to the car," Tony remarked. Tony opened the passenger door and put Mason's head in it. Theodore awoke. His felt like it was raging. He couldn't feel his limbs. He looked towards his father. "Goodbye, boy." Mason smiled as Skip repeatedly smashed his head with the door. "Do you know what that driving is bad for the environment? Everyone cycles now." He laughed. Theodore saw the blood, so much blood. "Stop, please stop." Theodore started to black out, and all he saw was the 4 men jumping on their bicycles and riding away. Everything went dark. End of chapter 1.
Oh, goodness.
I didn't realize how long this fucking thing is.
Gay fucking bikes or something like that. I cried laughing at that.
Gay little bikes, that's my favourite bit.
This was based in 1990, so a lot of things were like naughty back then.
Okay.
Breaking news, the TV blasted. Melissa shot up. Melissa refocused and looked around the room. These late night study sessions were getting out of hand with finals around the corner at the adult college. She peered over the room, her food from the previous night still there. Melissa sparked up a cigarette, overhearing the news report. It has been 30 years since the murder of Mason Marshall and Jenny Morgan. Dead outside Long High gas station. Marshall decapitated, and both Jenny and an unnamed child were shot dead. Marshall's son Timmy, who to this day was never found. There was also an unidentified body at the scene. Police are trying to reopen the case and have hired Special Investigator Thomas Mansford to try and solve one of the darkest day in Ryanstown's history. Melissa had heard about this story. Everyone had. It had haunted the town for the last 30 years. The doorbell rang. Melissa looked at her watch. Shit, I'm late. She got dressed and hurried downstairs. She opened the door. Her friends, Candice York and TJ Burns, they were both a little younger than Melissa. What the fuck is that? Questioned Melissa. It's our new cycles. Our dad bought them for us, replied Candice. Candice was okay, daughter to the mayor of Ryanstown, Skip York, a former real estate advisor, a very powerful man. Often skipped class and met up with people outside of town. And TJ was the adopted son of Roy and John Rockmore, former business associates turned lovers. Both left their wives for each other. He didn't like it when this was brought up, but Melissa always advised him that it's 2020 and everyone is gay. You know I hate cycling. They're so inconsiderate, and plus they dress like fucking rainbows, laughed Melissa. Well, we have this big bike ride coming up this Saturday. It goes towards a new statue and bike museum for the town. You need to write it in the paper. Everyone loves cycling. You should try. Oh, sorry, I forgot, said TJ. The reason Melissa hated cycling was due to the fact she lost her driving license. When a cycle group decided to ride dangerously in front of her, she drove off the road and broke her leg and collarbone while they refused to help her. She has this flashback nearly every day and in her nightmares. It's fine, whatever, she replied under her breath. See you later, TJ and Candice rode off. Skip, Roy, John and Tony were in the mayor's office. Skip staring at the secretary, who he was secretly having an affair with. This Saturday, gentlemen, is a great day, gentlemen. We are due to make a lot of money, and hell, this town needs it. Skip was mayor of Ryanstown, been there for the last 5 years. Do you still think about what you did 30 years ago? They're reopening the case, Skip, questioned Tony. Skip fist smashes the table. Seriously, why don't you shut the fuck up, Of course not. Of course not. We are doing God's and this town's work getting rid of these hillbillies. Employment is up, homelessness are being taken care of, and well, I get all the skirt a man can handle. A knock at the door. Skip's secretary entered. Mr. York, a package for you, she said. Ah, yes, the new commercial for the bike race. What the hell, a tape? It's 2020. Can't those fuckers put it on DVD? Do we even have a goddamn tape player? Skip placed the videotape in the video player and pressed play. Let's see what the people's taxes paid for, eh, boys? Haha, he joked. All the men laughed. The city played a catchy jingle starting the commercial. Ryanstown, the cycling capital of the world. Clean air, low energy, and... The tape went static. A hooded figure appeared. What the fuck is that? Asked Roy. This video is shitty, replied John. The hooded figure began to speak in a deep voice. I issue a warning. For the crimes that went unpunished, everyone will suffer. If the bike ride goes ahead, people will die. This town will pay for the people it has forgotten. I will be forgotten no more, the figure warned. The tape then cut back to the commercial. Tony, Roy and John went white. They felt sick, with all the past coming back to haunt them. The kid is dead. Did you cunts see him? We left him for dead. It's been 30 years and we've heard nothing. It's a joke, that's all. The door went again. It was the secretary. Mr. York, there's an investigator to see you, a Mr. Mansford. He wants to speak to you urgently, sir. He's on his way. He'll be about 20 minutes. Certainly, send him in. The men left the room, all white as sheets. Skip sat down with a terrified look on his face. On the outskirts of Ryanstown, a hooded figure is entering. A man walks past him, walking his dog, and watches him, hit a sign with Skip York's picture on it. He looks at the man. He has bandages on his face. The dog walker sharply walks away. He approaches a bike messenger. He sees a girl attaching her bike. What the fuck are you looking at, you deformed bitch? Do you know who I am? I'm the mayor's daughter, Candice. I can get you done for anything. The hooded figure walks away. Candice's phone begins to ring. Candice answers, Hey, baby, what do you mean you're going to be late? Do you know who I am? Candice began to shout and scream on the phone and bent down to lock her bike in place. As she went down, as her head was by the bike messenger, the hooded figure stomped her head into the bike messenger. Stomp, 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 crack. The back of Candice's skull was completely smashed in over the bike messenger. The hooded man then took out a carving knife and began to skin her face off. Melissa was sat at lunch. The smell of food made her sick. She'd already handed all of the school papers out. Bike users beware. TJ approached. Hey girl, sorry about earlier. I didn't mean to upset you, he said with a sad look on his face. It's fine, TJ. What the hell are you wearing? She looked at him down from top to bottom. TJ was wearing a bright fucking green lime green bicycle suit. You look like a fucking lime, she said. My new bicycle gear is what my dad's bought for me. Yes, we know what your dad's like doing, she said. Yeah, I don't understand why people don't ride in normal clothes like they did before, not like the Grinch on wheels. Yeah, I like it, she replied. Have you seen Candice? She missed the last class. Miss Jones was pissed. TJ asked, nope, not since this morning. I hope she's okay. Wait for me after school, TJ. You know it, he said. To betray and turned round. All the students were in bicycle gear. They all started to laugh. The laughing increased. They now all looked demonic. Faces, dead bodies were everywhere. Then Theodore Marshall, with a broken jaw, the boy from 30 years ago, holding a severed head, grabs her. She falls, hits the floor. The laughter wasn't real. The whole school laughed. Mel, are you okay? You blacked out and fell, he said, shaking. I'm fine, Melissa ran off. She noticed the janitor, Mrs. Morgan, staring at her. Melissa stopped and walked over to her. Private investigator Thomas Mansford, a policeman for the last 20 years, had an excellent arrest and solve rate. Recently retired due to a serious attack by a homeless man. Recently had plastic surgery to fix this. Never married, lives in Chicago all his life, and became a private investigator, currently staying at the Big Sleep Hotel. He entered the room and locked eyes with Skip York. Good afternoon, Mr. York. PI investigator Manford. I've been assigned with a case of over 30 years ago. I assume you know about this? Questioned Manford. Of course, the whole bloody town is still horrified, like it was yesterday. How can I help with the investigation? I am a busy man, replied Skip. It's routine. You're the mayor. You know the town. Who is the best to get information on this town's history than the man who never left the town? What do you know? Has some new information come forward, Mr. Manford? Questioned Skip. A man came forward, Mr. Brady. Yes, the man running the gas station was pretty fucked up in a cycling accident, and I mean really fucked up. He was riding down the road on his way back from work. Turns out this guy was a massive child molester on his way back to meet a young boy, a real sicko, riding extremely dangerously. A car goes straight into him, both legs broken, arms fucked, and his ankle shattered. Guy rings 911 and leaves it on his deathbed, names you, and I message, I am the warning, laughed Manford. Isn't that crazy, batshit crazy? Isn't that like fuck a guy crazy? But, well, I have no idea why he would mention me. I hardly know him. Pretty stupid shit, to be honest, snapped Skip. Yeah, probably just some junkie hillbilly, you know. They're always the first to go, aren't they? Questioned Manford. Skip froze. How does he know that? Who was he? Well, I've taken up your time, sir, but I'll be calling again and your gang too. By the way, nice bike. Personally, I hate cycling. Really kills me on the inside, you know. Skip called the rest of the gang in. Where's Tony? Where's the fuck is Tony? Demanded Skip. He's gone down to see the preparations for the bike race on Saturday. Are you still going ahead with it? Asked Roy. Of course we are, you idiot. This is my town, and if this cocksucker can scare me, I'll kill him too. Melissa approached Mrs. Morgan, the school janitor. She was always shouting strange things, such as the moon people coming to kill us, or the Eiffel Tower was evil. Like the Eiffel Tower screaming at someone. She had her own bike. It was one of those classic ones, you know, with the baskets. Mrs. Morgan, sorry to trouble you, but I know you've lived in this town your whole life. What do you know about Theodore Marshall? Melissa asked respectively, why are you bringing up horrible things, child? Don't you know what happened to those poor people? What horrific, that poor boy watching his daddy get butchered like that, and that poor mother and baby, and that other man who was so tortured you couldn't even see his face, not even dental records, she said, shaking with fear. Wait a minute, a baby? There was never a mention of a baby at the scene, questioned Melissa. Well, you know, this town times change, people change all the time. They want to do their fucking exercise riding all over the goddamn road. And all these damn cyclists nowadays, with their bright coloured clothes and inconsiderate attitudes to others. That poor boy, bless his heart, he hated cycling. He was terrified of it. Theodore, such a good boy, she changed the subject. Mrs. Morgan tells Melissa that made the boy so scared of cycling that it caused him to hate it. Theodore was a poor boy. He wasn't treated well by his mother. So when all the rich kids came around with their fancy new bicycles, he was teased and treated awful. calling him trailer trash, the worst things imaginable. Then one day, Theodore saw it in the local junkyard, a bicycle. Sure, it needed work and new brakes and tyres, and it was a bit rusty, but he could do it. He had tools, he could use it. He didn't have to buy one, he could make a new one after his hero, Jimmy Savile, who fixed lots of things. That boy spent so much time on that bike, it was so beautiful, he was happy, it even brought him closer to his father, the way he would fly down the road on that thing, waving at everyone as he passed, smiled Mrs. Morgan. But that bloody day, when it all changed. Theodore raced on the bike, it was his greatest achievement. He stopped by the gas station to get something to eat. It was those kids that had picked on him before. He stopped off and got off the bike. "Oh, fuck, boy, where'd you get the wheels?" shouted one of the boys in the gang. "You probably nicked it, the trash-eating bastard," answered one of them. "Leave me alone," said Theodore sadly. "Doesn't help his father is a drunk and his mother is a whore that fucked off joints and fucked the clowns and maybe the elephant." Theodore saw his red fists tightening and he began to attack the boy. The gang stepped in. He was punched, kicked, and scratched. They picked up his bike and smashed it on top of him. One of the gang placed Theodore's head under the pedals and began to stomp his head with it. Mrs. Morgan, the new janitor at the school, walked by and saw him. "Oh, you thugs, get off him," brandishing a gun from her handbag. One of the gang spat on Theodore. "It's okay, ma'am. He's fucking garbage. No one will remember him." The gang rode off. "Come on, guys. We'll be late for cycling club," remarked one of the other gang members. Melissa began to cry. So he wasn't born a monster, he was turned into one. "How can people be so cruel?" sobbed Melissa. "Oh, that boy changed that day. He didn't speak to anyone apart from his nasty father. From that day, he hated cycling." Mrs. Morgan approached Theodore. "Boy, what's your name? Do you need the sheriff? An ambulance?" Morgan, "No, fuck off. I don't need anyone," shouted Theodore. Theodore got up. He picked up his bike and pulled it to the middle of the road. He picked up a stick and smashed the bike to pieces. Theodore was so angry, nothing could have stopped him that day. The funny thing is, that gang didn't all come home that night. No one knows what happened. They vanished. Their bodies were only found 10 years ago. Skulls smashed in, their bodies cut up. They were found with their bikes all smashed up, stuttered Mrs. Morgan. "Was it Theodore?" questioned Melissa. "No one knows, dear," replied Mrs. Morgan. "But one thing I do know, that baby will turn up one day. But that mother of hers, Jesus, a prostitute, God knows who the father was. The whole town, she almost got around. Even my Henry, dirty whore and the bastard. It's good that baby died. World didn't need a place for bastard children," smirked Mrs. Morgan. The lights went out. Melissa felt a sharp push, a hooded figure. Melissa tried to pull off the hood. "Who are you?" demanded Melissa. The hooded figure spoke. "We are the same." He hit Mrs. Morgan. The impact fractured her eye socket. "Please, no. I tried to help you," begged Mrs. Morgan. The figure pulled her over to the bike. He placed her head under the pedals and repeatedly stomped down on it. The sound of blood and broken bones filled the room. He then ripped Mrs. Morgan's eye out and presented it to Melissa and muttered to her, "We are not forgotten." Melissa fell back into the hall. The students surrounded her. She screamed. TJ picked her up. "Let's get out of here," he said. They both ran out as fast as they could. Tony was at the starting line. He was barking orders. Melissa and TJ walked past it. Melissa in shock at what she'd just seen. Her phone kept going off. It was a school. Starting line. It was huge and way over the top. "This is so shit," stated Melissa. "Thousands of taxpayer dollars on... Do you think he's compensating for something? There are balloons, floats, a bandstand, and a buffet stand." "Melissa, what happened back there?" questioned TJ. "He killed her. He stuttered. "Melissa, who did?" "Who was it, Melissa?" demanded TJ. "Theodore Marshall," cried Melissa. "No way, this is a joke. He disappeared 30 years ago. There's no way he survived a beating like that. He was a nobody kid that had daddy issues and couldn't ride a bike," laughed TJ. "No, he wasn't, TJ. He was bullied terribly, and to be honest, I don't blame him for hating bicycles. Everyone who rides one turns into a stuck-up twat who thinks they're better than everyone. Bicycles cause nothing but hurt. I can tell it's rubbed off on you, turned into a real asshole," fired Melissa. Tony entered a nearby building where the celebrities were staying. He told his colleagues that he needs to check the top floor and he'd be back shortly. Tony entered the elevator. He was scared of heights. He took some cocaine out of his suit jacket and snorted it, laughing while he did it. He reached the top floor where he was alone and he felt scared. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He walked into the balcony. At the corner of his eye, he spotted something, a figure. He walked around the corner. and saw a figure on a bike. He approached with caution. He pulled the hood down to reveal a decapitated body. But before Tony could scream, a bike pump got spiked into his throat. Tony looked at the hooded man's face. "Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. I tried to stop them. Please don't. Oh, fuck. Fuck," he pleaded. The hooded man ripped out the bike pump and slit his throat, chest out towards his crotch. In a deep voice, the hooded man spoke. "You did nothing that day but save yourself. Now I'll gut you like a fish, you gutless cunt." He wrapped Tony's intestines around a pole and around his neck and threw him off the building. Tony's organs fell out and onto TJ and a woman down below. The woman looked up thinking it was a joke and screamed. TJ fainted into Melissa's arms. Melissa screamed in horror. The hooded man then appeared near a sign of Skip York and placed a mask over his face. A video feed and played on the intercom. "Behold, a mayor with another face. Stop the cycling. They can only cause harm and death. You were warned. I was forgotten, but now I am found. Bicycles are murdering people. A war will begin. Behold a face I've brought our mayor, his daughters. Maybe it can make his soul more beautiful. And Mr. York, I gave her a chance now to show the truth when the time is right." The video cut off the hooded figure, gone. Melissa saw him in a vision. She was sick. TJ stood out cold. The police dispersed. One of the officers asked Melissa, "Is he going to be okay?" "Yes, officer, I'll get him home now." Melissa carried TJ out of the crowd and into the distance. She wanted to get as far away from them as possible. Back at the office, "Mr. York, what do we do?" demanded Roy. "Did you see what this psychopath did to Tony and your daughter?" Skip snapped, hitting Roy in the face. Skip's phone rang. It was P.I. Manford. "Evening, Mr. York. I'm sorry for your daughter. She was a very vocal kid." "What are you doing about this cocksucker?" replied Skip. "Look, I got a place where you can all lie low for the night. It's just outside of town. The address is 13 Longfellow Road, Spring Road. I'll meet you there in 10 minutes, offered Manford. "You two get down there." I got to ring Candice's mother in Amsterdam. I'll meet you down there now." Roy and John left to go meet the investigator. Skip began to ring. Was his past crime catching up with him? Was it over? He lost his daughter, his friend. For the first time in his life, Skip York was terrified. Melissa was researching the incident on the internet. She went through photos of the crime scene in the area. "I know that gas station." She thought it was just outside town. Wait, a small figure in the picture. Looking back, Skip York? Melissa walked downstairs and noticed her car was gone. In town after the police blocked off where she'd parked. She looked over and saw a bike. "Really? I have to do this." She got on the bike. "I look like a fucking idiot," and rushed over to the address, 13 Longfellow Road, Spring Road. Skip arrived at the address. "What the fuck? This is the gas station from years ago. Why this place?" He put on his torch and Melissa popped up. "Fuck," he screamed. "Mr. Mayor, what are you doing here? I'm so sorry for your loss. She was my good friend," as she brushed his arm. "What are you doing here, girl?" he demanded. "I saw a picture of you from 30 years ago at this location, sir. What were you doing here?" Melissa turned round to get the picture out of her bag. Skip grabbed a rope, walked over to Melissa. This girl is suspicious. She can't find out, he thought. Melissa looked at the corner of her eye as Skip approached. "Ah!" Scream in the distance. "Ah!" Another scream. Skip and Melissa ran towards the screaming. They entered round the back of the gas station, a dark room, a wire on the floor. Skip's leg lights shot on. Roy and John were attached to surgical tables. "Boss, help us, please," screamed John. "What the fuck is going on?" "Skip, you motherfucker, this is your fault. You got us into this. You murdered that mother, the boy, and that missing boy's father. We're paying for your shit." Screaming Roy. Two bicycles were lowered above their faces, and then a machine started the bicycle wheels. They began to speed up as if it was a motocross car. A video popped up with a hooded figure. "The men who can't run their own lives have to be told what to do, and now what happens when they have no reason to live anymore? Stop protecting the guilty," the deep voice said. Bike tires won't hurt you. The worst you'll have is burns. "Just hang in there, I'll stop the machine," reassured Skip. The bike tires retracted, and then they came back out, but with spikes coming out of them. The faces of Roy and John, blood skirting out and all over Skip and Melissa, faces being ripped to shreds. "Please stop," cried Skip. "I'm sorry. What did you do?" asked Melissa. Skip tried to ring the PI. "Hello, I need the personal number of Thomas Manford. It's an emergency." The woman on the phone replied with a confused reaction. "We had an officer, Thomas Manford. He died 30 years ago. We just got his dental records that he was killed on the day of the massacre near Ryanstown, Austin. Texas, he was the unidentified body. The hooded figure appeared in person, dropped the voice box, removed the hood to show a bandaged face. Now to show you I will never be forgotten, he shouted. He removed the bandages. It was P.I. Thomas Manford's face. He began to peel his face off. His jaw was broken, bruises all over his face, teeth missing. Theodore Marshall, the boy you killed that day, Skip. The innocent you sacrificed for bicycles. Fuck bicycles. You all consider it. You're better than others and have the rights given to you. You murdered my father and mother just because you could. You, girl, you are and I the same. I was at your school that day. I read all the stuff you wrote in the newspaper. You hate bicycles more than I do. Skip was stunned. You had killed my friends, my daughter, but why the janitor woman and that boy and the other boy? Questioned Skip. Theodore replied coldly, I didn't kill the janitor, but your daughter, I was given the relevant information on where to find her. And that boy was hand-delivered to me, laughed Theodore. TJ came out from the back. He was on a bicycle. He had barbed wire wrapped around his body and his mouth sewn shut. All the barbed wire was attached to the bike, going through his limbs, his chest, and face connected to the wall. This is what happens when a cyclist tries to catch up with a car. He pushes TJ down the stairs, retracts the wire, tearing TJ to shreds. TJ, why are you doing this? How are you still alive? Melissa demanded. Let me tell you what happened to me, smiled Theodore. It's almost finished, guys. Theodore, 30 years ago, Theodore awoke. He was angry. He managed to pry himself up with the gun they left. Theodore screamed. A police car pulled up. Theodore looked at the badge. Officer Manford. You okay, boy? What the fuck did you do? The officer said. Theodore looked at him puzzled. We were attacked by Skip York and his goons, he replied. Looks like you're holding the murder weapon, boy. That Skip is my cycling buddy. He wouldn't do this. You're just a lying junkie motherfucker, he mocked. He walked over to examine the bodies. Theodore saw a nearby bike chain on the floor. He wrapped the chain round the officer's neck and choked him out. He then broke the officer's neck and wrapped the bicycle chain around his fist and repeatedly beat the officer's face until he was unrecognisable. The gas station owner saw everything. He helped Theodore in and put his clothes on the officer. Theodore had slipped the badge into his pocket. He noticed the child was still breathing, but hurt. He picked it up and took it. When I found out the gas station guy was a child molester, I took care of him too, Theodore proudly said. Skip turned to Melissa. Melissa quickly turned and slit Skip's throat. Skip bled everywhere. He said he was shocked. Why, he asked. You're the fucking monster. You made us the monsters. When you murdered his father and my mother. Theodore jumped down the same bicycle chain he had used previously. There were two of you, questioned Skip. Theodore then beat Skip York to death, naming every person who died that day. Melissa was the baby that Theodore had saved that day. Melissa was the one who told Theodore what Candace would be, and it was revealed that Miss Melissa actually had given TJ morphine. He hadn't fainted. Back to 30 years ago, Melissa was shot. A small bracelet on her hand revealed she is the missing baby. She was cared for by Theodore after he murdered the gas attendant until she came of age. She knew his plan to get revenge. She was brought up his way and his feelings towards the world. Melissa then, it wasn't Theodore who killed Mrs. Morgan, the janitor. It was her, believing it was also Theodore. He turned to Melissa. What are you doing Saturday? Smiled Melissa. Cycling, replied Theodore. Those fucking biker cunts at that bike race are fucking dead, shouted Melissa. We are ghosts and forgotten no more. You see, history will always catch up with you, my children. Just remember, if you're going to cycle, don't be a dick, because it could always come back to you and murder you. Sam Baker's Cycling. That was really long and I'm actually out of breath. My throat is quite
Sam, that was not 5 pages. How many pages was that?
8.
I knew it was
8
longer.
pages?
Oh, I got really into it, mate.
You must have tiny, tiny writing.
Yeah, what font was that? You didn't even double space it.
Well, it would have been 16 pages then.
Sam, that was a great, great story.
That was so violent. That was so violent. I've never.
Yeah, it's possibly the most violent story I've ever heard.
Oh, it's not as violent as Halloween 2.
I don't know, if we watched yours in the cinema, perhaps we'd get some free popcorn again, I imagine.
Yeah. Pretty grim.
I'll never get the image of a baby with its shoulder missing out of my head. I don't know what I'm going to do now.
I went for the slasher genre. I did.
The description of some of the cyclists, like you called one looking like a fucking lime. That was great.
Yeah, that was
well,
great.
well, if that was a film, that would be like a B/horror, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Who would star in it, Sam? You thought of any actors?
Yeah, I've got your cast in mind.
Obviously, I've got to do a cameo.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know what I would be.
Still, that is wow. So many images.
Saga.
So many images in my head right now.
My original plan was going to be about killer sponges, but I couldn't get the story going.
Right.
Okay.
Right, sure.
Shall I do my second one, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your second one, yeah?
I got such a sore throat.
Yeah.
Just
return into character.
I apologise if I caused any nightmares or offence. It's just a story. We were told to write a horror film, and I wrote a horror film.
Yeah, if you do have nightmares, let us know.
Send us an email, podcast@sms@gmail.com, and we'll come and tuck you in.
I'm certainly going to have a nightmare this evening.
You'll never look at cyclists the same.
Never.
No. Right, okay. So, Brisket McCole presents Sheriff Dane Hamster and the unfortunate encounter of Twat the Horny Troll. It was a warm summer's morning in the pleasant farthole of Wexley Pip. The radio of Sheriff Dane Hamster was blasting out waterfalls by 90s R&B band TLC when his bitch of a mobile phone rang. He turned the volume down on his DAB digital radio, which he purchased in the local Dixon's at the amazing price of $15.99. Once he pressed the answer button on his bitch of a Nokia, a loud, grisly voice mumbled, "Hello, twat. It's Twat, the troll." "Excuse me? Who is this?" says the sheriff, who was sitting on his two-piece sofa, which he picked up from his local DFS for an astounding £255.99. He's currently paying the sofa off in monthly instalments of £20 to make the purchase more convenient for him financially. "You know, fucking stutter. It's Twat the troll, you twat." "Ah, yeah. Twat the troll. How are you today, sir?" says the sheriff calmly. "The bastards from up the path from my hole are at it again. Do something." The sheriff was confused. He knew he sorted this matter out last week. The thing is, dear reader, Sheriff Dane Hamster has been in the job for a little over 6 weeks now. He was transferred from his cushy job as the sheriff of the KFC in the next town over. The less said about that town, the better. One of his first cases as sheriff of Wexley Pip was dealing with a disturbance near Twat the Troll's hole he calls home. Near his home, a nutty prick of a squirrel kept throwing sticks near Twat the Troll's hole. He thought he sorted out this matter by laying squirrel death traps around the shithole Twat the Troll lived in. The squirrel death traps were more like old video cassette casings filled with chocolate, so the squirrels can get off their tits on the high sugar content and piss off back up the trees. "Well, Mr. Twat, I thought the squirrels left. I confirmed to you last week that the situation was resolved." "No, they're back." "Fine, I'll make my way to your twat of a hole now, sir." He ends the call and puts his clothes on. As he walks near Twat the Troll's hole, he realizes the squirrels are nowhere to be seen or heard. Suddenly, a lump of human shite hits his beautiful face. He wiped the shite out of his face and screamed, "Who in cricket fuck did that?" He heard immense laughter in the distance. As he wiped the shite from his eyes, he could see a green naked figure dancing like a right twat. Yes, that is correct, dear reader. twat the troll through the shit, that did Sheriff Dane Hamster. With anger, the sheriff ran towards the troll. He wrestled the prick to the ground and said, "That's it, you're fucking nicked now." "That's what you think, you twat," the smelly bitch said. Suddenly, the troll imploded. Now, dear reader, no need to worry. No need to worry about Twat the Troll. You may think he has met his sweaty demise, but the thing is, he often implodes. Twat the Troll can implode up to 3 times a week and resurface back to his shitty hole. That's why the fucker is so slim. There were rumours he was on a secret diet, but once everyone knew of his imploding ways, no one cared. Suffice to say, the sheriff did not know of this common occurrence. Well, unfortunately, he does now. What do you think of that one?
I feel like this universe you created is just the most disturbing thing. The most disturbing thing. It's like a weird, messed up Enid Blyton series.
You know what this reminds me of right now? You know when you read an exam question and then you don't answer that question?
Yeah.
They're your stories.
Yeah.
So you've just spent 2 hours writing completely different thing to the point.
Yeah. I saw the question and I went, no, I want to talk about something else.
Okay.
Fair
Michael,
enough.
would you like to take the floor?
Yeah. Let me get mine up. Hang on.
But you see
I
that
don't have
floor?
access to a printer. So.
Yes, you see that floor?
Huh?
You see that floor below you?
Yeah.
That's mine.
And the moon is as well, right?
Yeah, that's mine.
Right. Okay.
Do you remember the first time I
is,
said? Do you remember the first time I said that? I said, "Do you see that thing up in the sky?" Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, there was also the time you lay down, you planked outside the carpet shop.
Sean, we had to listen to your story. Sit down.
Sorry, I was putting stuff in my bin.
Mine is a homage to Dracula.
Okay.
And it's called Dracula. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
It's called what again? Sorry?
Placula.
Placula.
Okay.
Placula. James, have you brushed your teeth this morning? Asked Mrs. Cunningham, placing the fried eggs onto the plate. James walked into the kitchen and sat at the table. Yes, he replied. You don't have to ask me every morning whether I've brushed my teeth. I'm not a child. There was a tumult around the kitchen as Mr. Cunningham was late for work and was searching every nook and cranny of the room for his car keys. Where have I put them? He shouted in frustration. Are they on top of your head? Asked Mrs. Cunningham sarcastically. Now, before you go, I want you to explain to your rebellious son the importance of brushing one's teeth. Not right now, he replied. This was a typical scene of a morning in the Cunningham household. James' father was the executive director of a string of successful fruit stores in the city, and so his mind, rather than being on the well-being of his family, was often on that of bananas and oranges. Ah, there they are, exclaimed Mr. Cunningham, pulling the keys out of Dreyfus's bed. What on earth were they doing in there? He questioned, throwing an accusing frown at the dog, who was eating his food at the back door. Goodbye, family. Have a great day. And James, he started, get upstairs and brush your teeth. James let out a petulant grunt and rose from the table to leave the room. Entering the bathroom, James' attention was immediately drawn to the tube of toothpaste, which had somehow made its way up onto the windowsill and the open window. Who put that there? James wondered. He shrugged this off quickly and pushed the toothpaste onto his brush and began what, in his opinion, was an arduous task. Why do we have to brush our teeth, he thought. They're only going to get dirty again later anyway. Just then, his attention was returned to the open window by way of a strange knocking. He placed the toothbrush on the sink and spat the spearmint froth down the plug hole. He slowly, anxiously began to move across to the window. All the while, the knocking continued. Thud, thud, thud. Getting louder and louder, James' heart was pounding with fear. Scared you, shouted Fran, throwing his head around the corner. For goodness sake, Fran, you scared the hell out of me. Red-faced and embarrassed, James ran out of the house, leaving the toothpaste and brush on the sink and leaving for school with Fran. That day was incredibly boring, and James sat in classes all day looking forward to getting home and watching films and playing on his console. Does your mum go on at you about brushing your teeth every day? James asked Fran as they were walking home. Yeah, she tells me that if I don't brush my teeth, then I'll be sorry for it. She's told me this story about a bunch of kids who didn't brush their teeth one year, and that they all went missing. What utter rubbish, thought James. He decided he would ask his mum about this when he got home. Their conversation soon turned to the latest episode of the Twilight Zone, and the missing children were soon forgotten about. As James was walking up the garden path towards the front door, he noticed the tube of toothpaste which he had used that morning on the lawn of the front garden. He walked over and took hold of it and took it into the house. Mrs. Cunningham was at the kitchen sink, washing a few plates, when she noticed James walking in, holding the tube of toothpaste. Well, I don't believe my eyes, she said. James Cunningham holding a tube of toothpaste? Mum, James began, do you know anything about the story of the children who didn't brush their teeth going missing? James' mum stood still, her whole body stiffening. Suddenly an almighty crash was heard, as Mrs. Cunningham dropped a plate she was holding onto the tiled floor below. Oh, I'm ever so sorry, I don't know what came over myself. James stood, full of suspicion. She was obviously perturbed by what he had asked her, and got the impression that she knew something of the story. Why don't you go upstairs and play on that computer of yours, she said. Dinner won't be long. She left the room, leaving James alone with Dreyfus. James went to bed that night, full of questions. The next day, James woke and went downstairs. Mum was again serving eggs for breakfast, and Mr. Cunningham was again searching the kitchen for his missing keys. They're in Dreyfus's bed, said James. Ah, of course they are. Aren't you going to speak to your son about the importance of dental hygiene? Mr. Cunningham asked. James's mum, in a sinister fashion. Another time, said James's father, leaving the kitchen. He couldn't help but notice a certain morose quality to his father's reply, and suddenly felt that he may know something of this strange story too. James went upstairs to the bathroom, after his mother once again berated him for not having brushed his teeth already. Once again the window was wide open. This time the toothpaste was found on the outside windowsill. Who keeps leaving this toothpaste here? Thought James to himself. He spotted Fran outside on the path waiting for him. James put down the tube of toothpaste and left the house, again, without having brushed his teeth. I asked my mum last night about the story you told me of the missing children, James started, and she froze on the spot like somebody had just told her somebody had died. That's funny, said Fran. My mum did the same when I first asked her a couple of weeks ago. I kept finding the toothpaste outside in the garden, and so asked her about it. She suddenly went quiet and told me to forget about it. James was in shock, for he had also found the toothpaste in the garden after school yesterday. They talked about this for the remainder of their walk to school. Something strange was going on. James entered the house after school and found his mum sat at the kitchen table, pensive and full of despair. Mum, are you all right? Asked James, worried. Yes, son, she replied, shaking. I'm fine. Go on up to your room and remember to brush your teeth before bed. James headed towards the stairs, but suddenly his mum lunged at James and grabbed his arm tight. Please, son, for the love of God, please brush your teeth before bed. Promise me you'll do it. Mum, you're hurting me, said James, trying to release himself from her grip. For God's sake, you stupid little child, please promise me you'll brush your fucking teeth. James finally broke free and ran up to his room, slamming the door behind him with his back straight against it. He was in shock. He had never heard his mum swear like that. He had only ever heard language like that on late-night movies and the SMS Podcast. His mum had acted like a crazed animal. James spent the remainder of the night in his room and didn't go back out until the morning. That morning, James went downstairs to the kitchen, expecting the usual commotion. Mum serving eggs and his dad searching for his keys. However, he was met with a very different scene. Mum was sat upright at the kitchen table. His father also sat at the table. The room was silent. Dreyfus was nowhere to be seen. What's going on? James asked. Where's Dreyfus? Dreyfus went missing, his dad said. We let him out last evening and he never came back. I'm sure he'll come back, James said, hopefully. Yes, I'm sure he will, James' mum said, turning to James and with a monotonous voice. Have you brushed your teeth this morning? She asked him. Yes, Dad asked. Have you brushed your teeth this morning? In the same robotic tone. No, not yet. I'll go and do it before I leave, he said. James entered the bathroom and was met with an unusual sight. The window was closed tightly this time, but there was a box on the bathroom counter full of hundreds of unopened tubes of toothpaste. James thought that his mother must have been making a point. He decided not to brush his teeth. He didn't want to give his mum the satisfaction. James waited outside his house for Fran to come along for a full 20 minutes, but he never showed. He must have been ill, James thought. The schoolroom was eerie that day. Half the children in his class had not shown up to school, and his teacher, Mrs. Connick, had the same glassy-eyed demeanour that his parents had had that morning. What's the matter? She asked James menacingly. Have you not brushed your teeth this morning? James, terrified, jumped from his chair and ran out of the school gates and headed home. Arriving at his house, he was met with another strange sight. The front garden was strewn with empty toothpaste tubes, hundreds of them. What on earth was going on? He ran for the front door, and placing his hand on the door handle, he found it was smothered in red, white, and blue toothpaste. He threw his hand towards the garden to try and remove it all. He ran into the house. There, at the bottom of the stairs, he found Dreyfus, quite dead and covered in toothpaste. James fell to the ground, crying. Who had done this? And where were his parents? Suddenly, he heard movement in the kitchen. Mum, Dad, he called. There was no response. He slowly moved along the hallway towards the kitchen. Cautiously moving his head around the doorframe, the blood in his body froze. His mum and dad were both sat at the table in the same strange position he had found them that morning, smothered head to toe in toothpaste. They were so thickly covered in the paste that their features could not be made out. They could only be identified by their humanoid shapes. The creatures slowly moved their heads around to face James and uttered, Have you brushed your teeth, James? James quickly spun around and ran towards the front door, only to find toothpaste oozing from around the doorframe. He heard movement behind him. He turned to find the toothpaste zombie that was formerly his loving dog, Dreyfus, rising to his feet. His jaws opened and viciously mouthed the words, Have you brushed your teeth? James mindlessly ran for the staircase. Reaching the top, he turned to see that the toothpaste zombies were following up the stairs, the toothpaste zombie dog behind them. They were all repeating the phrase over and over again. Have you brushed your teeth? Have you brushed your teeth? He ran for the bathroom. Swinging the door open, he grabbed the toothbrush and paste and began vigorously brushing his teeth. Thinking that this might placate the monsters that were following him down the landing. However, James was horrified to see that his teeth had begun falling out, landing on the bathroom floor with a hollow, bone-like sound. He fell to the floor, crying, and dragged himself over to the corner of the room. The door handle turned, and the monsters entered the room and slowly moved towards James. Have you brushed your teeth? Have you brushed your teeth? They continued. I brushed them, James pleaded over and over, but this did nothing to stop the zombies. One of the zombies' mouths opened, dripping with wet toothpaste foam. His mouth opened into a cavernous void large enough to fit an entire body into it. One final scream was heard all across the neighborhood. Then, silence. A few weeks later, Sally is in the kitchen eating her breakfast. Mr. Wallace is reading his paper, and Mrs. Wallace is drinking a cup of coffee. Sally finishes her eggs and leaves the room to go upstairs to get ready for school. Suddenly, she heard a knock at the door. She pulls the door open to find a smartly dressed young man at the door holding a briefcase. Hello there, little girl, he says. Have you brushed your teeth this morning? The end.
Ooh, that was good. I enjoyed that. That was really good. I enjoyed that.
That was Placula.
I'm actually going to go and make sure I brush my teeth now.
Yeah, brush your teeth before bed. I don't.
Let's cameo for Mrs. Connick.
Yeah, Mrs. Connick appeared.
And the SMS Podcast.
And the SMS Podcast, of course.
That was good. Some very sick imagery there as well.
I'd laugh if, like, through all our stuff, someone that sat down and listened to all our stories now, Sean is the one that ends up in therapy. Not mine with like horrific deaths and stuff like that.
I don't know. I think you both end up there.
Probably.
Okay, one last story from me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You ready for this one? This one might be the best one.
Right.
Okay. Brisket McCall presents Top Hat in a Skip. One of the more sympathetic characters of this abysmal town of Wexley Pip is one Bert McCaramack. The 4'8" creature of a human was a handsome individual. Imagine a half-assed drawing of Richard Gere used just a picture of one Bert McCaramack. In his more youthful days, he was an exciting young prospect for a nearby football academy. He played centre midfield, who had a great eye for a crisp pass of the ball. An unfortunate incident occurred at one of his many trials for Cumstar United. As he was playing the beautiful game, at his handsome best, a streaker with webbed feet paraded onto the pitch singing Duality by Slipknot. As the streaker was getting to the chorus, Bert kicked the ball right in the streaker's big, freshly trimmed ball sack. The streaker screamed in horror as he fell to his knees and exploded. Blood and guts engulfed the pitch and unfortunately all over Mr. McCaramack. Now a 67-year-old pet owner, Bert McCaramack remembers that day like it was yesterday. But it couldn't have been yesterday, so the man was fucking bonkers. He was on one of his daily walks as he noticed a yellow skip outside one of Mr. Eric Schwartz's shops. Who was Mr. Eric Schwartz, you may ask, dear reader? Well, the man is a fucking arse. In one of his 17 shops, he only sells Quaker Oats and biscuit tins. To say this was a waste of time and money is a fucking understatement. Eric Schwartz was a bald arsehole with the longest arms you've ever seen. Long arms with tiny fucking hands. The man was an arse. Bert McCaramack examined the contents of this yellow skip. He moved all the porn mags and dog food, and he was shocked to find a beautiful, handcrafted top hat. He thought to himself, I'm having that hat. I will wear it to the public house, and I shall make sweet love to a woman tonight. He places the wonderful hat on his red Richard Gere-ish head, and confidently walks off, excited about the night ahead. That night in the public house, it was packed, as it was live music night. The unusual sounds of Whale Pierce was performing. Who is Whale Pierce, you ask? Well, that's a different story for another time. Who was that? Of course, the prick, Eric Schwartz, was there with his long arms and tiny fucking hands. He had a pint in each 8-year-old kid-sized hand. Fucking show off. Other infamous folks of Wexley Pip were in attendance that night. PC Alec Rump, Keith John the Butcher, Trevor Eve, and the questionable fashion of Janice Cunt. Bert McCaramack strolled into the pub with a confident exterior. His gorgeous face had the biggest smile on it, as the woman he seeks to fuck was stood by the bar. The woman was one Miss Claire Wank Candle. She was such a beautiful woman, a bit tall for Mr. McCaramack's liking, but I digress. He walks up to Miss Wankcandle. He walks up to Miss Wankcandle and says, Miss Wankcandle, do you like my hat? Why, yes, I do, Bert. Where did you find said hat? In a skip. Hey, after a few pints, do you want me to show you where this skip is and make fucking it? Well, how could I say no to such a wonderful offer? I will join you, Bert. But first, let's knack some pints. As they downed the 8th pint of the evening, they decided to leave the public house and journey to the Yellow Skip to make fuck. Now, dear reader, what I am about to say will haunt you. If you are under the age of 18, please do not read on, as this is only for mature minds. As Mr. McCaramack and Miss Wankhandle entered the Yellow Skip, McCaramack started to scream in pain. Miss Wankhandle turned to see McCaramack's head replaced by the top hat he was wearing. It turned out the top hat was a fucking shark and ate poor Bert's head off. Miss Wankhandle, however, was more turned on by the sight of the shark and continued to make fuck to the shark in that very skip. There is a moral to this tale, sweet reader. Never grab an item from any skip you stumble upon, because it could turn out to be a fucking shark and eat your head off. What do you think of that one?
What the hell were you doing to come up with that?
I don't know.
Podcast SMS at gmail.com.
That is the greatest story I've ever heard. Oh, God.
Thing was, yesterday when I was walking the dog, I did walk past the Yellow Skip, and I think that's where I got the inspiration.
That is the greatest story I've ever heard in my life. You certainly left the best one to last there.
Yeah.
Can I have that? Can I have that?
I'll send them all over to you so you can reread them yourself.
Yeah. That wins it for me, that.
Yeah.
Let's go to the skip and make fuck.
Tell us what you thought, everyone. What you thought of the stories. Send us an email.
Well, I know which one's my favourite. Top hat and a skip.
Top hat and a skip.
Sean, Sean, where was the twistusion?
The what, sorry?
Twistusion. Stakes, twists, conclusions.
There isn't.
Yeah, there was no plot to that story at all.
It was just a happening.
There was no plot to that story at all.
Poor Bert McCaramack, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I honestly would like to do this challenge again.
Okay.
But obviously a different theme.
So I don't visit Wexley Pip anymore now?
No, you can return that.
Okay.
Please return that.
Okay. I reckon we could leave it up to people to vote for it, but like we could do romance. That would be fucking my depth. Erotic would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that could be good.
Christmas stories. Or something with ships.
A nautical tale.
Wow.
So do we enjoy our time as writers?
Definitely.
I had a lot of fun, really. But now I'm slightly concerned at myself because...
I think I'm more likely to have a nightmare about that last one of Sean's than yours, Sam.
I thought your
think mine...
Top hat and a skip. You are mental. You're like absolute mental.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good effort, though. Fair play to you both. I enjoyed that.
Great effort to you guys as well. You actually wrote good stories. I just wrote crap.
Fucking hell. Anyway, would anyone like to sum up what we learned from our experience?
Sean needs help of some kind.
You're going to get loads of complaints.
Either that, or I should just write more. I really enjoyed it though. It was a lot of fun to get your creative juices flowing again.
Yeah, good challenge, guys.
Yeah.
I have a question. How do drug dealers start? Like the first ever one.
What? Well,
I guess it was a doctor, maybe, or something. Someone that.
It must have been like a doctor stealing stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
And like you don't just sit there one day and go, I might sell drugs.
yeah. Someone probably sold drugs that could only be prescribed to someone, but instead thought, you know what, just have these. And then I think that's probably how drug dealing started.
yeah.
We're going to bring back a quick one. Sam's fact of the episode.
Go on.
Australia is the #1 country for obesity.
Is it?
It is.
Is it really?
Yeah, I found that out today.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be America, but it's not America. It is Australia.
It's very surprising.
Well, I did not know that, Sam. Fair play.
There we go. It's a fact. And it's not about cats, Sean.
What do you mean?
Remember, my facts were always going to be about cats, weren't they?
They were. That's a good one. It's just so your facts are going to be about cats and Australians,
Yes.
or Australia.
Australia.
Ah,
You don't want to go down that road.
no. But yeah,
Right.
that was a hell of a long episode. I just realised.
I think I took up most of it, so I do apologise. Like I said, it's only for a laugh. We don't want to offend anyone, but
Yeah.
I don't think my story's offended anyone.
nah. Right, I think we should wrap it up for this week. I'd like to thank Sean and Michael for.
Yeah, I'll be
being
back
here today.
on the SMS podcast sometime soon. Thanks for having me.
It's all right. Like I said, we'll be back as soon as we can because obviously the lockdown still sucks. But just be careful, look after each other, be nice to each other, and yeah.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
Every life matters.
Take care, everyone.
Right.
Stay safe, and
Stay safe.
hope you don't get nightmares from what you've heard tonight.
See you later.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Ta-da.